Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. In today's special episode, we sat down with Victor Avila, former ICE special agent and author of Agent Under Fire. He touches on China's role in getting illicit drugs like fentanyl over the border and into the U.S., how widespread trafficking is in the U.S., and much more. Let's dive in. Victor, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So lately, the U.S. kind of passed a milestone in overdose deaths, and a lot of that is attributed to fentanyl. And a lot of parts of fentanyl actually come from China. So as your experience of being a former ICE special agent, what can you tell us about how China's able to get not just drugs, but other things across our borders?
Absolutely. China has a major role in Mexico in conjunction with the cartels, as they're the primary producers and providers of the precursors and chemicals to the cartels that produce the methamphetamine and fentanyl, especially the counterfeit pills. There's over 100 super labs in Mexico right now that produce these drugs and that continue to pour into our country, mostly through our southern border. And as you mentioned, over 107,000 deaths of what I consider poisonings directly related to the cartels. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration, 1 out of every 4 pills in this country right now is a counterfeit pill. And so you have the surge in deaths in the young population, mostly in college-age students, which might not necessarily be drug addicted or just experimenting with a pill. They take one, it happens to be a counterfeit pill full of fentanyl, and they overdose on it. And let's not forget the meth. As I travel around the country, the methamphetamine is a huge impact on a lot of communities, especially when it comes to crime and the crime associated with that highly addictive drug. And I've seen it in towns that most people will not expect to the method where it's ending up, and that's states like South Dakota and Montana as well.
And so on the topic of drugs, how is fentanyl so much deadlier than, say, meth or other drugs?
Well, first of all, it's a highly, highly addictive drug. And obviously, it takes a very, very small amount of fentanyl to overdose. And the cartels obviously do not care about the amount that they put in each individual pill. So you might have 2 separate pills that contain fentanyl, one where one person will not die, the other one will. And it is just highly, highly addictive, highly dangerous. We have a lot of police forces around the country that even being exposed to it by air or by touching it and absorbing it through your system, you can go into a overdose type of situation. And that's happened a lot to police officers and first responders. So it's a big, big impact that it has throughout our country. But somehow our elected officials are not getting that picture of the alert. And I believe it's a national security and public safety issue, because China is directly involved, and we know the issues that we have with that country.
And Victor, in your experience as a former ICE special agent, how is China able to get these fentanyl precursors from China all the way into the U.S.?
Well, the number one word that comes to me is the corruption that exists in Mexico. They're able to pay off at these major seaports in Mexico, able to pay off the government officials in Mexico to get those chemicals in the country. Now, it's not just the precursors that China is involved. They're involved in the steel trade and a lot of other trades, and also in the buying of our land. In Texas, just a couple of years ago, there was a major purchase of 140,000 acres of Texas land on our border in Del Rio, Texas, right next to an Air Force base. And once it was looked into, of course, it was tied to individuals tied to the CCP. And this is, again, a national security issue that China is trying to then not, through Mexico, infiltrate us through the cartels, but also with the purchasing of major portions of land in our state of Texas and around the country.
And so what can be done to counter that? Especially, is it securing the borders, or what can be done to stop it?
Well, ultimately, it comes down to that. A lot of the ripple effect that we see it is coming down to securing the border. It's not just about illegal immigration. It's about the this national security issue when it comes to China, when it comes to terrorism. Just like the individuals that want to come in here illegally know that the border is open, so does these special interest groups know that the border is wide open through Mexico. And so we have encountered already 42 individuals on the no-fly list or terror watch list that we know about. Just this past week, ICE was able to finally locate an individual, a terrorist from Colombia in Florida that was allowed to come into the country. I mean, we are at a point right now where this open border is affecting us in many, many ways in our criminal justice systems around the country, our healthcare systems, our school systems, and of course, national security.
On the note of dangerous individuals coming over, you worked in human trafficking and then you detailed a story in your book, Agent Under Fire. And so how dangerous is that? Tell us about it.
Well, I wrote this book, first of all, to tell the story of the ambush that Special Agent Jaime Zapata and I went through at the hands of the Zeta cartel in Mexico. While I was on assignment over there, we were attacked and shot at over 100 rounds. Special Agent Jaime Zapata tragically lost his life in the line of duty. I survived being shot 3 times, and I know firsthand the threat that we face by these cartels. And in the book, I also talk about the human trafficking was my subject matter expertise, and how much of it we're seeing now in the sexual exploitation of children and child trafficking, the smuggling that becomes trafficking. It is a huge, huge problem. I rescued countless women and children from these horrific conditions, and the open border only allows these cartels to continue to do that. In this book, you'll read on the second part of it, a lot about border security when it comes to the wall, sanctuary cities, asylum, things that are happening today. You would think I wrote the book yesterday, and how relevant it is today.
And what are some actionable steps that could be implemented to really help counter this trade?
Well, one is the awareness. First of all, to understand what human trafficking really is. I do a lot of trainings to identify victims, first responders, to know the difference between a human trafficking victim and possibly just a sex worker, which is a difference, right? And also human smuggling versus human trafficking. Human smuggling being a one-time venture to enter the United States illegally, when human trafficking is the continuing exploitation of that person. And so just being aware of the differences and what it is. And also, if you want to learn more, contact, there's a lot of great NGOs, non-governmental organizations throughout the country that dedicate themselves for anti-human trafficking, combating this horrific crimes all over the country, that you'll be able to get together with them and learn how to do something in your community to at least be aware that this is something that is happening, that hopefully you could have an impact in helping stop it.